So, I finished knitting the scarf that I started. Now I want to show you how I finish the scarf by sewing the ends. And I know it is a bit hard to see, but so I just take it all off the loom. Since it's definitely long enough. You have to be really careful not to get any of the yarn pulled off, otherwise you'll be left with a hole in the stitching. And as you may have seen on my YouTube channel, I've been doing music videos on music that I've put into MuseScore, which is a software, and I've gotten a lot of views on the Hungarian concerto for brass quintet. And the classical music from commercials, which is all from older commercials. I did a Google search on that, and the first one that came up with, the number one of the top 10, was the William Tell Overture, which I found an arrangement for string orchestra, which I've arranged for brass ensemble, although it does look like it's made for a brass quintet. The way it's set up, it's made for 5 parts, but each of those 5 parts has parts within itself that can't be played by one brass instrument alone. So I've decided that it should be for a brass ensemble instead of just brass quintet. So now that I've got this off the loom, this circular thing, I'm going to cut a piece of this yarn for about a foot down is how much I usually get. To work with. And then with the yarn that I cut off, I fold down this top layer and I'm threading the needle right now, which is pretty hard since this is a smaller needle. Wait a minute, I think I have a bigger needle somewhere. I'm gonna keep this one out just in case I need it. Just a minute. At least I thought I had a needle in one of my spools of yarn. Maybe I don't. Anyway, I'll look for that needle later. Keep trying to use this one. Back to stitching this end up. That's the wrong piece of yarn. That goes back in the bag. This one is what I've been working with. Takes a lot of patience to thread a needle, especially with yarn, because even if you try to get all of it in the right end, sometimes not all of it gets in there when you're trying to get it on. Now, we start by sewing up the end. I usually go back and forth across the whole thing 2 or 3 times. You want to go with the natural fold of the scarf, because when you're knitting it, when it gets long enough, there's a natural fold to it. As you're knitting, you'll find there's a natural fold to the end of the scarf. So you don't want to knit and then start sewing up the end so that it doesn't match up with the natural fold of the scarf. You don't want it to come out all twisted. So we're almost at the very end of the scarf as I'm knitting. Well, this is sewing, so you sew up the ends. And I usually go until I run out of yarn or until I've gone over the same place twice. That way it doesn't come out when you're wearing it. As you can see, I started over here on this end, and then I ended up over here on this end. Now I'm stitching it up so it's nice and tight. And what I usually do when I'm done stitching up, or when I think I'm done, I usually check out the the stitches that I've made as I sew it up to make sure that it's not going to have holes in it. As you can see, it's a pretty good tight fit. As I check it, it's really nice and tight right there. And then I just take off the yarn from the end. And I just, you see over here, there's this piece of yarn that isn't where it's supposed to be. Well, it's not where it's not supposed to be, but it isn't the way it's supposed to be, all tightened up at the end of the scarf. So what I usually do is I try to get it tied like that. And in a couple of knots so that it doesn't come out. And then I take the scissors. I have a nice little pair of scissors here. And I usually cut it about 1/2 inch away from the end. And then I put this piece of yarn right on there, because I don't need it anymore. And what I usually do is I do it on both ends. This end I started on, so it's a little more neat and tidy than the other end, because it automatically curls up after you start on a loom like that. And as you can see, there's the scarf. And there's the end. Now this video is getting a little long, so I'm not going to show you how I tie up the other end. But I will tell you this. This piece right here, when I'm done stitching up this end with sewing, gotta find the right word, it's sewing, I will tie the excess, the leftover or excess yarn onto this end and tie it together, so those pieces are now going to be together. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks, bye.